Go ahead and call our meeting to order. It is 5:30, and it's good to see all of you this evening. We have a full agenda. I do want to remind you that we have copies of the agenda back here on the podium, so you're certainly welcome to grab one so you can follow along. We do have a very quick public hearing that we're going to do before we actually launch into the agenda. So I'm going to turn it over to Emily Beeman, our city manager, and she will share with you some information on the city's 2024 proposed budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Today at 4 o'clock, we had a special called meeting where I was given the opportunity to do a budget presentation to each of you. To the general public, this is available through the city clerk's office Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Just a recap of the budget, FY23 versus FY24 by funds. We are looking at an increase of the budget of $19 million. This is inclusive of grants that the city has applied for, as well as matching expenses. Last year in FY23, our budget was $53.8 million. This year we're looking at $72.9 million, just as a recap. The budget that was looked at today and presented to council, as well as the presentation, like I said, can all be picked up from the city clerk's office for the general public.
Okay, perfect. Gentlemen, do you have any questions or anything during this public hearing? I know we went over that. You did a great job of presenting that to us at 4, so I don't think anyone has any questions or comments. So, okay. All right. Well, that public hearing will be closed, and we'll move on to our agenda. You do, gentlemen, have a copy of the agenda, and so I'll need a motion to approve that.
Move to approve.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So that is approved. All right, I'm going to go down front. We have a couple of proclamations and some exciting things to do here. And I am going to ask our city clerk if she will come join me. Oh, it's court clerk? That would help if I read that. Well, I knew we had talked about city clerks. How are you doing? This is Gail Drayton. She is our court clerk, and she does a wonderful job. And I'm going to present this to you ladies. This is a proclamation for Municipal Court Clerks Week. Like I said, if I'd read that better, I would have known that. This proclamation says, whereas municipal court clerks, Chad, do you want to come up here too? You work with these ladies. I know. You're an important part of this too, because our municipal court does so much for our community. Municipal court clerks play a significant role in ensuring that municipal courts preserve public safety and promote the quality of life in the city of Tifton and local municipalities all across our great state. The procedures for the City of Tifton municipal court operations are set forth by uniform rules of municipal court and other laws of the state of Georgia. Whereas more people come in contact with municipal court clerks and public impression of the judicial system is largely dependent upon the public's experience in municipal court. And whereas municipal court is committed to the notion that our legal system is based on the principle that is an independent, fair, and competent judiciary will interpret and apply the laws that govern us, municipal court clerks act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments and the significant role that the municipal court clerks play in preserving public confidence, integrity, and impartiality of the judiciary. And now, therefore, I, Julie Smith, Mayor of the City of Tifton, do hereby proclaim the week of June 5th through the 9th as Municipal Court Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal court clerks, Gail Drayton, Chief Court Clerk, and all municipal court clerks for the vital services that they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent and serve. And it is in witness thereof I've set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Tifton to be affixed this 5th day of June, and Jessica White, our city clerk, has signed it. So, Gail, I'm going to present this to you, and we would like to present you with a round of applause because we appreciate the work you do. Do you want to say a few words about the work that Gail does?
Is this being recorded?
You've never been in a lawsuit.
No, I've known you, what, since our Ashburn days when I was an assistant DA up in Turner County. So I've known Gail and Gail's work ethic for a long time, and I'm just really blessed to have you as my clerk. And you know how much you do for me anyway, and I just know that you will take care of anything that needs to be taken care of, and I never have to worry about it. So thank you very, very much, and thank you to you both for all of your hard work.
Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you, Gail. This next presentation is very special. It's to a dear, dear gentleman who has done so much for this community, and we're so proud to be able to honor him this evening. He is a true community leader. He has a huge heart. He has just been such an inspiration to not only to myself, but to so many people. So Dr. Homer Day, I would like for you and all of these wonderful people who are here to celebrate with you to come forth, if you don't mind. We have a little something for you too. And what I'm going to ask you to do, we have the cameras right here so that we can get your smiling face on our YouTube and the meeting that's aired. So if you'll just look at these cameras up here. The first thing that I'm going to do is present this proclamation. And then I have another little surprise that these folks behind you have been working on something. I don't think you knew. I think they actually kept a secret from you, which is hard to do. So let me read to you the proclamation that we have for Dr. Day. Dr. Day has spent 30 years on our housing authority. That is amazing. We are so proud of the work that you've done. The proclamation says, whereas Dr. Homer Day is a native of Willacoochee, Georgia, a Vietnam veteran, retiree of the University System of Georgia, and a faithful, and I underline faithful, community leader. And whereas Dr. Day has generously dedicated his time, talents, and energies serving various professional roles at the University System of Georgia, providing leadership for the Tifton Housing Authority and the Tift County Development Authority, and faithfully serving numerous civic and nonprofit organizations, and he is actively serving these organizations, he has spent countless hours leading efforts to enrich our community's opportunities in education, economic development, and quality housing. And Dr. Day has been an active member of the Tifton Housing Authority since 1993 and has served as chairman of the authority for the majority of those years. Dr. Day has been instrumental in ensuring the Tifton Housing Authority properties are well maintained and the residents have access to opportunities, programs, and a safe place to call home. And these significant contributions to our community have not gone unnoticed, and the Tifton City Council wishes to extend our greatest and deepest appreciation, and now therefore, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Tifton, I extend appreciation to Dr. Homer Day for his many years of service to the betterment of our community, and do hereby proclaim Monday, June the 5th, as a day in his honor, and officially designate Dixie Avenue from 4th Street to 6th Street as Dr. Homer Day Avenue. My hand and seal this 5th day of June, 2023. So I'm going to present you with this proclamation, and I'm going to put something else in it. At our earlier meeting, we voted on renaming this street in your honor. So this is the resolution that does that. So you have Dr. Homer Day Avenue, and do you know who wanted to do that? These people behind you right here. This was all that they did all this. So I'm going to present this with you, but I've got a little something I want to show you too. So I'm going to let you hold this because I'm going to ask you to speak in just a minute. Don't look at me like that. Let me grab something back here. Dr. Day, this is what your street sign looks like.
My. Look at Daddy's little girl. Ladies and gentlemen, and those of you who are somewhere in between, I want you to know that I do not deserve this, but I'm going to relish it because somebody had to prop me up all of those years to do those things. And I want you to know that the pleasure was not always mine, but I made the very best I could out of it. At this time, I'd like for you to know the one who is really, really in a position that she likes to be with me, and that is to let you know that I would not have been able to accomplish any of these things had it not been for her. And thank you so much.
Well, it is our honor on behalf of this wonderful city council, this great community in which we live, to present this to you. But your board wanted to do something very special for you. And so this was an easy thing to say yes to. That absolutely, we will absolutely have this honorary street designation. So it's now Dr. Homer Day Avenue, still Dixie Avenue, but also Dr. Homer Day Avenue. And we just want to say thank you so much for all the work that I know you'll continue doing it. Just because 30 years on the Housing Authority has gone by in a flash doesn't mean you're going to stop doing what you're doing. And I have the opportunity to serve with you on the Development Authority and in other roles, so we just thank you for that and just appreciate you so very much. So thankful for you. Yeah, okay. All right. Miss Elizabeth, if you'll come down front, please. We rely on citizens of our great community to help us with various board positions and serve in various roles, and I'm very thankful to be able to say that Elizabeth has agreed to serve on our Tifton Tree Board, so we're very thankful for that and appreciate that. So I'm going to swear you in so that your participation will be official. It's very simple. I'll read the oath of office, and then if everything sounds okay to you, to say I do swear or affirm, whatever you're more comfortable with. So the oath of office says that I, Elizabeth McCarty, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties as a member of the Tifton Tree Board of this city, and that you will support and defend the Charter of the City of Tifton, as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia and of the United States of America, that you shall attend all meetings of the body to which you've been appointed unless providentially hindered, that you shall abide by the standards for conflicts of interest adopted by the City Council and the rules of disclosure applicable thereto, that unless disqualified by the standards for conflicts of interest, you shall actively participate in all decisions of the body to which you have been appointed, and that you shall attend at city expense any training mandated by the state of Georgia, and also attend as scheduled any special training arranged by the city of Tifton. Do you affirm? Well, congratulations. You are now officially a member of the Tifton Tree Board. Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's nice to be able to honor and recognize people who do so much for our communities. We're very appreciative of that. Next item of business is the discussion of the request from the Downtown Development Authority and the Tifton Heritage Foundation for abandonment between Forest Avenue and Fullwood Boulevard for installation of a historic district sign. I know, Rob, you have presented us with a resolution that we'll vote on at the next meeting. So anything you want to point out or share with us, or?
Yeah, basically what the resolution is stating is reasons, for abandoning the road, which is basically the first step in going through the process of getting to the DDA so they can, erect that sign. It says that whereas a property known as Street Connector between Forest Avenue and Fullwood Drive has ceased to be used for public and no substantial public purpose is served by it, constitutes a traffic hazard, and the removal from the municipal street system is otherwise in the best interest of the community. It goes on and then describes it's a small strip of land which basically authorizes the sale to abutting landowners. But again, this is more the first step in getting the road abandoned and then getting it to ultimately to the DDA. So from what I understand, people observe the street. It's not being used. I think Dr. Rigdon did say that it's a danger. And of course, the idea is that this is going to ultimately be an area where the Downtown Development Authority, the historic people will put up a sign,
Right.
which I think will greatly enhance the community. So this is a resolution, and if it's all consistent, we can adopt that at our next meeting.
Okay, all right, any questions? I know Rob just gave us the resolution a few minutes ago, but it's short, so any questions or comments? I know we've talked about this a couple times, so. Okay, wonderful, we'll move on to new business. I'm gonna call on Larry Lawrence and Eric Groom to come talk to us about a proposed natural gas rate increase.
Mayor, Council, on the gas fund, I've been monitoring that over the last several months. In fiscal year 2021, our net revenues over expenditures at the end of the year, we had 810,000. And last year, it decreased to 432,000. So we've had a little erosion there. Also, if you look at the summer months, that's really where we're hurting because our fixed cost doesn't go away, but our revenues decline. So in previous years, we normally had 2 or 3 months where we're in the red. This year, we've had 4 months in the red. So we've asked Eric to look at any alternatives that we can do. Eric gives us new rates every month, but he uses a special formula that we might want to change that formula to increase that little margin a little bit. So Eric's going to talk to you about
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Before I start, may I approach and hand out just a one?
Absolutely,
Sure.
yes, please.
I tried to keep it under one page, but I had to go legal.
Thank you.
Just to make it work.
Just for my eyes.
Yeah, I understand.
And
Thank
quite
you.
a few numbers on there, but I'm going to simplify it pretty quickly. But it'd be a good discussion to have in front of you. When it comes to the gas rates. Okay. Regarding natural gas rates, obviously in this country they fluctuate monthly. They're unlike gasoline, which can fluctuate 4 times a day. You go to a pump, you see the gas prices go up. Overnight it changes. Natural gas in this country is based on a monthly index. And your rates are based on that. So you have a rate structure that you add on to the gas costs to your residential, commercial, firm industrials, UPS, and the interruptibles, the hospital. It's typically your largest customer per month. If you go to the top left box, that's currently where your rates stand today for the month of May. And then the second column is the actually margin, the add-on margin that the city adds on to the rates. What Larry just mentioned before, it's just a simple adder. Your volumes are your next column, and total revenue is the farthest column. What we've seen in the gas business in the last year is a very high index, very high gas price last summer, and a dramatic fall, and that's that middle graph for you to look at. And you can just kind of see how dramatic that, we've never seen that. We've never experienced such a high spike and such a low fall since then. So we're in a very good environment with low gas prices, and that's good for citizens. It's good for the country. It's good for industrials. It helps with the inflationary problems we're seeing in this country. So, in roughly, I want to just talk in general terms of what a rate adjustment, rate increase would do to this for the city of Tifton. That's the far right 2 columns. If you added a quarter to it, I will tell you the last increase this city council looked at for gas was 10 years ago, October 2012. You went from 75 cents to $1.25. And that helped out tremendously. In that time frame, from October 2012 till now, the CPI has gone up 23%.
Sure.
So if everything's equal, you're dramatically losing some revenue. What's great right now is gas prices have dramatically dropped, and that's that far bottom table. If you were an industrial customer here in Tifton and you have gas, you can see what they paid last June, and you can see the dramatic drop to today. I mean, it was $10.94 last time this year. Now they're paying $3.97. That's a tremendous benefit for your industrials. It's a tremendous benefit for residential. Obviously, residential commercial is not burning a tremendous amount of gas during the summer, but your industrials do. Your industrials stay pretty fixed throughout the year. So I just wanted to kind of share in general terms and maybe come back to you in the time after you've had a chance to kind of look it over and look at the numbers a little bit more precise. But, you know, I think any adjustment today would be needed. What Mr. Larry just mentioned, you've got 4 months throughout the year that you're barely breaking even on your cost, and you do have fixed costs. The pipeline does have fixed costs on you. So I just wanted to kind of share some options here. Again, there's nothing great about adjustments of rates. We would love to adjust them lower, but in this instance, I think it's necessary, it's fair, it's necessary to have an adjustment. Like I said, the last adjustment was October 2012 to the natural gas rates. So wanted just to kind of get your thoughts on that, you know, let you look at it. Tried to get it simplified to a legal document. I hate multiple pages, so I try to put a lot on here, but it does definitely show you what you need to see as far as your gas system.
Is there any anticipation of and I know it's like looking into a crystal ball, do you anticipate the rates staying low, or do you see any spikes?
Great question, Mayor. You know, the experts seem to think that there's no reason for it to go up. Now, we will have an adjustment in the winter. It typically does go up a little bit in the winter, but that's a customary. We know that. We always see that just because there's more demand in the winter, but everything seems to keep it flat.
Okay.
You know, what we experienced last summer was we had a real bad heat wave in the middle of the country. The power plants were burning as much as they can, and then we had the war in Ukraine, which a lot of the natural gas was shipped overseas.
Sure.
So there was a high demand on natural gas, and it ran. And so we're not seeing that. We're not seeing anything on the horizon, at least in the year horizon, that would, you know, again, that's a great question. You don't want to adjust, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're back in the $12 market,
Right.
and everybody's up in arms.
Yeah, okay. All right, questions, gentlemen? It's a lot to digest.
I got one more thing if I can hand out.
Absolutely.
I brought a gift. You're not going to, it's not a great gift.
Oh, it's not a great gift.
And we hand this out in all our spring regionals with the cities.
Yeah.
And we've ordered these this year. It's just excellent to have when a customer comes up and talks to you and says, hey, you know, how much is natural gas compared to the alternatives?
Sure.
You know, the other options. So let's just look for the city of Tifton, for instance, if you can entertain me. If you put your gas rate at $12, that top row,
Okay.
and it's kind of sticky because they're brand new. So if you put it at 12, you can see what propane needs to be to the residential, and that would be $1.10. I know it's not labeled there, but it's in between $1 and $1.20. So it just gives you a sense. So if a customer comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'm buying $2 propane, or $2.50 propane," how's the city of Tifton's rate? And you're very low. You're very competitive. Natural gas is always going to beat propane in the instance of residential. If it's available. Again, you're not out in the country, so I have propane at my house. I'm not trying to badmouth propane. It serves a purpose for sure, but when you have a natural gas line in front of your house, there's a tremendous benefit of you getting on that natural gas, a little cheaper energy.
Exactly. All right. Questions? Comments? Y'all are awfully quiet. Yeah. All right, let us digest this, and
Be
we
happy to
appreciate
come
you-
back.
Yeah,
Sure.
we appreciate you coming tonight to present this, and of course, we can direct any questions to Larry, who can then get those to you if we have any further comment or questions. So, y'all good with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so
Thank you
much.
for- thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Mayor and Council, also just a reminder, we put two different values in front of you for an increase of 25 cents and 50 cents. So we would ask that you look at both of them and
Okay.
have a recommendation.
Gotcha, okay. All right, moving along under new business, the next item is proposed event permit fees. So Emily, I'll turn that over to you to present that information.
We currently have special event permits that can be applied through, right now through the Main Street office. And I'm leaving some out, but some things that they could be block parties, it could be 5K runs, any type of special event. As you see in your council packet, there's a definition of any profit or non-for-profit activities that could be entertainment, recreation, education. They are required to get a special event permit through the city of Tifton. At this point in time, those are free permits. We don't recoup any revenue off of those. Sometimes employees and staff can spend weeks or days on these special event permits to make sure they fit within the ordinance. It goes through an approval process. Multiple department heads have to look at it, make sure it fits the guidelines, get it approved. If we have questions, we respond back and ask the questions that we need. So administrative staff does spend a lot of time and efforts into this. We are not recouping anything off of it. Sometimes they may ask for additional officers, barricades, trash receptacles, cones. So we have multiple resources that the city is using to help with these events. What this is, it is to implement a special event fee for the permitting of the special event permits. The proposed fee would be $25 for any special event. And then if they needed anything additional resources, such as what I mentioned, barricades, cones, it would be an additional $100. A lot of times this is staff who comes in after hours on Saturdays. They're paid premium pay overtime. If they're having to block a road, we may have an officer who has to stay in there. So this is just, this helps us kind of retract on those administrative fees. In your package, you'll also see other cities that have special event permits, permitting fees. Tift County has a $25 with a litter deposit. Thomasville has $25, an additional $100 for resources. Dalton has a flat $300, or they calculate based on how much effort is spent on this. Perry is $75 and Douglasville is $100. So I think our fee of $25 is very reasonable. Given the administrative staff, the duties that they have to do kind of behind the scenes of this. Should this be approved, we would look at this starting July 1st in parallel with the new budget, as well as event permits internally. We'll go to community development, so it'll be a one-stop shop where they can go there, find out the information, fill everything out. It'll also be an online process.
Let me ask you a question, not related to the fee, but if someone's having a special event, are they required to have any kind of insurance coverage, or does that just fall under the umbrella of the city of Tifton?
If it is an event that is not sponsored by the city of Tifton, they should have their own insurance if it's on city property.
Okay. Will that be in the application process so that they're made aware of that?
I believe it's on the actual application.
Is it on there? Okay. All right, any other questions, gentlemen, comments?
I support this. I believe these events should cover the cost that city taxpayers have to pay. City taxpayers shouldn't have to, cover every event. The event organizers should cover it, in my view, so that everybody's treated equally.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Emily. All right. Our next item is the project recommendations for submittal to the Regional Transportation Investment Act, also known as TIA. So I'm going to call on Jeff to present that information.
I think y'all seen some of it. Emily and I, we work with the county on several occasions to look at this, and going by what the state told us, we need to look at different routes that not only affect the city of Tifton, but other people coming into Tifton. So that's mainly why we chose the routes we did, which they are all in bad shape and need fixing. The first one is Tifton El Dorado Road. I'm just starting. We were going to do a CDBG grant on that one, but after we looked at it, we really don't think that it would fit the bill, so we're going to try to do it this way. With that, we would do storm drainage, curb and gutter, and sidewalks for the children over there where they can get back and forth to the school, and pave the road out to where the county has already paved and widened the road. So that's one of the projects. Old Osceola Road from East 14th all the way to the city limits, and then the county's picking up there going on out. That'll cover the hospital area. Kent Road, it is really bad shape out there by the high school. We'd look at some storm drainage, possible sidewalks. It just depends on what we can get, but it definitely needs some storm drainage improvements, and maybe we could straighten out one of the curves, but that was a good one. 8th Street, finish up from Carolina where this project's going on now, bring it all the way down to Ferry Lake, replace some curb and do some milling and overlay that whole road, just like we did 2nd Street. Wooden Mill and King Road, I'm gonna talk about them together. I don't know if y'all have ever been out there at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning or in the evening time. It is terrible. We're looking at doing a project on both of those and widen the road all the way from the interstate to Carpenter Road, whether it be a 3-lane or 4. There's plenty of right-of-way, but at least have a turn lane in the middle for people traveling on both of those roads. Then Davis and Rainwater, both of those routes are heavily traveled to the colleges there, so we're looking at doing some widening, some shoulder improvements and paving on those, and what isn't in the city, the county's looking at taking care of the rest.
Do you know, on that particular area, we get a lot of requests for sidewalks in that area too, because so many people who either work or attend UGA and ABAC live in that area, so that to be able to walk is really important. Are there sidewalks planned for the county portion, do you know?
We hadn't come up with a design yet, but we could definitely add them in, and there was some discussion that we would ask both schools to pitch in part of that that starts at their parking lot and goes out for them to help pave that part.
Right,
if we
okay.
get it to that point. And it all depends on how much is forecast, but it looks pretty good. I know the last one went real well. We're working on the last 3 projects now. We're in design with those. 8th Street's being finished up. Hopefully within the next year and a half, 2 years, we'll have all of them finished in that phase. The next band, when it comes out, these will be in it if y'all approve of the list. And I would like to say it is a 3 to 5 year process once you get it approved. It's not instant like LMIG or anything.
Right. Government moves slowly sometimes, does it not?
That's right.
All right, questions?
This is a great thing. I
Yeah,
like this.
yeah, especially 8th Street. Ooh, that's,
And Kent Road,
Yeah.
especially with the drainage. Not that I'm biased or anything.
Explain to me about Rainwater Road, and how is part of that in the city?
Rainwater is the city from that 4-way stop in the middle all the way back out to Moore Highway. That's city limits.
Yeah, there's a sign there. Right, that 4-way.
Yeah, Thornhill, yep.
Okay. Well, no, is the property on both sides in the city, or just the road?
One side is, one side isn't.
North or south?
South.
south is or isn't?
South is in the city.
South is from that 4-way stop?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the sign, we know about those signs.
I'll have to look at it again, but I'm pretty sure, Adam, UGA is in the city limits. Everything on the right-hand side there is.
Of Rainwater,
Mm-hmm.
from that 4-way stop all the way back.
Back to Moore Highway.
Back up under the interstate.
I know
Davis-
people,
Davis
people
is-
that are on the corner of Rainwater, and yeah, the people that are on the corner at the 4-way stop, they weren't in the city, so that's why
Yeah, but the road is.
the road, that's,
Yeah, we got a couple of those.
the road is, but all the houses along there
The
aren't.
houses are not.
That makes perfect sense, Jeff, I appreciate that.
Well, he didn't do it.
I know, Jeff. Jeff and I had some going.
If you'll let me straighten out the lines, I'd be glad to.
We'll put you in charge. Emily, he's just volunteered.
Yeah.
If we let him straighten out the lines. He said he'd take it on.
Gets confusing.
And a few things just to remember, this is the TIA 2. We shouldn't have had to plan these until a few years later. The way it works is by point of sale, and our region has already met our max for the projection, so it's not like any other kind of funded stops. So they'll, the projects are starting, so this is why we're kind of starting early on this. And then this year, they did give us guidelines, criteria that we needed to go by. It had to be, there were 4 criteria. One was it had to make a regional impact. So a lot of the main arteries come into Tipton, 319, 82, 75 school districts. All of that was really taken into account. And as Jeff mentioned, we
One last question about 8th Street.
Yes.
And the project going on. Did you say when that might be completed?
This one up here,
The one that's got all the yards?
I'm hoping within the next 2 months. That's when it's supposed to be completed.
And that's
but-
all
But that's
DOT.
one of those the state is handling. We don't have control.
I can appreciate that, but
Yeah.
I know who they're gonna be calling.
Oh, and then-
When
yeah,
those
they-
yards are,
Yeah.
We don't have control over that one. The state was the one. That's why we come to you a couple of months ago to get permission for us to manage all of that,
Yeah.
being the city.
I know how that, when somebody calls me, I say, well, that's DOT, and you know how far that's gonna get me? But
Not far at all.
Not very far, so, all right, couple of months, and I'm sure they'll have the yards back the way they were.
Yeah,
right?
they're dressing up some of them now as they go. They're not all the way out to the curb yet, but they are doing a good job of cleaning up out there. I will say that.
Good,
Well, you stay on top of that.
please, when you're straightening out the city limits. just
Yeah,
gotta
do
that.
this in your spare time. Yeah. All right, thank you, Jeff. All right, the next item on our agenda is review of proposals received for the inclusive playground equipment at Fullwood Parks. I'm going to call on Crystal Gaylord to present that information.
I'm so glad the screen came up, because this is one that really everyone needs to see, and I'm glad that we have folks here to see the design. So we had several proposals come in, and we had a scoring committee comprised of two city staff, one ESG staff, and a representative from tourism to really comb through the designs and all of the details related to each of the proposals. And the one that you're about to see in just a second is the one that was recommended by all unanimously. This is from Bliss Products and Services. They came up with a great design over budget. We had budgeted for $500,000. We received $250 in tourism product development funds, and the city was committed to matching the other $250. So we're hoping that we can scrape together and find the extra $150,000. But in my opinion, the design is 100% worth it. A really cool, inclusive design that will really add a lot of value to Fullwood Park and just be a tourism draw, especially for special needs children. So if you'll flip to the next one. This is, there's several renderings. They did 3D renderings of what it would look like from each of the sides. But you see the main structure here. Some of the things that we included in the RFP as being really important to us was shade. Georgia is really, really, really hot, and that area right there, it just gets blistered by the sun. So that was one of the most important pieces to us. The other was the surfacing. So this is poured in place rubber. It looks like turf or artificial turf because of the color of it, but it's actually the poured in place rubber. This will alleviate a lot of the drainage problems that we have out there. Also, the mulch that is existing is not accessible by those with physical special needs, and it just is a maintenance nightmare. So we're really excited to be able to go into the 21st century, really, with a poured in place rubber. So we're excited about that. Flip to the next one. All right, so this one you can see, and they did a great job at imagining our space. This actually is what it will look like in our space. So we have a kind of an octagon shape that's surrounded by sidewalks, and the vendors were working with the spaces within that area. So here you're seeing the backside of the swings. We have one tandem swing. That's a mommy or daddy and me swing where they can swing with the kids. There's a seat on one side for mom or dad, and then the kid in the other one. We have 2 of the swings with harnesses included, and the rest are bucket swings. Go to the next one for me. All right, so here's just another view. So you have the slides, you have ramps that will get kids that are wheelchair bound. They can get onto the structure. There's sensory play items all along the way on the structure. So there's things on the left side, the right side. Wheelchair can get onto this structure right here that kind of looks like a boat. It rocks left and right as somebody propels it, usually mom or dad with quads of steel. But it's a great design, lots of special needs features. So flip to the next one for me. Flip one more.
Oh, man. All right, go back a couple. I wanted to talk about one specific piece. Go back. Go back one more. All right, you can kind of see it here. So on the top end of the picture, this is a zip line. So you would strap a kid in. It's got a full harness. And it moves from, mom or dad would give them a push, and they'll move from one side to the other. It's that structure that's just above the swings. But it was a really cool feature that we didn't see in any of the other designs, and we thought it really spoke to the inclusiveness of this one, that it's not just that a wheelchair can roll onto the playground area, because that's not fun to just be able to go onto the pour and place rubber, but you can go on the swings, you can get on the merry-go-round thing, you can get onto the structure, you can get onto the zip line. This one really spoke to the inclusivity that we were really looking to do with this project. Flip a couple for me. Okay, well, that's got us to the next one. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. I spoke to Bliss on Friday. They are still standing behind the 3 to 3.5 month time frame from a notice to proceed. So if we were able to give them a notice to proceed after the council meeting, then we would really be looking at July, August, September, October timeframe, which is really good for us. We were really mindful of having all of this done and ready to go for Rhythm and Ribs in March, so no worries there in terms of the park and having to go down for a while. Also, the playground won't go down for too long. The City of Tifton will be doing the dismantling of the equipment that's already there, and we won't dismantle until we know they're coming 2 or 3 days later. So we're not gonna let it sit there for months and no activity be going on. Most of that 3.5 month time period is manufacturing time. So while that's going on, the playground as it stands right now can still be used, and then we think it'll be down for about 2 to 3 weeks.
But with that though, Crystal, they can still use the other side.
Absolutely. So this is for, I call them the plastic playground and the wood playground, but this is just for the playground that's right there by the bathrooms. So none of this will affect, we're hopeful that we'll receive grant funds, fingers crossed, in August to be able to work on the other playground, but that's right. So there will always be a playground even while this one's under construction.
Perfect.
Since this is hotel motel tax and for product development, and it's gone over what we thought, have you gone back? I mean, we get this money every year from these city hotels. Is there a way to go back to tourism and say, hey, this didn't cost as much, we need some more of our money that's used for product development?
I think I could pose the question to the tourism board. I can't guarantee anything, but I can certainly ask the question.
I mean, they're wanting the playground like we're wanting the playground. It's a good thing. I mean,
It's a great thing.
Even if we split the extra 150, that's better than, than having to pay the whole thing. I wish they'd pay the whole 150, but if you don't ask, you don't ask.
Yep, sure. I can. I will check on that, and I will report back for the vote.
Well, and this just fits so nicely with our commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and making sure that families who do have special needs have that sense of belonging. That's an inclusion. That's the this just fits so nicely with that, and it's something that's definitely needed. I know Emily and I have talked about this quite a bit, and she's pointed out the closest place, if you have a special needs child and you want to go play on something like this for the day with your child, you have to go to Valdosta. So this is really, I think this is really going to be an enhancement to Fullwood Park, which is such an incredible resource for this community, and we're so fortunate to have that park. And I think as what I hope will happen as this comes to fruition, and this, we see the involvement with families, that we can put this type of equipment in other parks around the community. So it's really, I think it's going to be really a good thing for Tifton and for the kids of the community. So.
And it will pair nicely. I know Adam's preparing some Fullwood Park updates and things like that, so it'll pair nicely with all of those updates.
Exactly. Okay.
And it kind of all goes back to, earlier today, the 7, roadmap functions that we have, connecting, our citizens to the outdoors and recreation. MJ, I think you're one of the first that kind of led the movement. We need security, we need lights, we need this, we need that. And it kind of snowballed when the city staff recognized the needs at Fullwood Park, whether it's better picnic benches that we have, whatever it may be. This is just a part of the phase. This is a multi-year thing, but I think this is really great for our community.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say about, just kudos to you guys going to dig in deep and getting this far with it, and hopefully, the rest of the funds come in and we make this happen for the community. But I did want to mention also, we did talk about other, when I was speaking to Crystal, about maybe some other lighting on this new park, throughout the night, and maybe some cameras positioned in that area of the areas. So.
Yes, and that
Just
is
something that we
one
didn't
thing
think
we
about.
are looking at, preserving our new equipment that's out there from vandalism. We
Right.
have that already in place with the new security thing, the items that we've put out there.
Good.
So we are very well prepared for that.
Okay. Any other comments, questions on the park equipment? Good. All right. Crystal, you have the next item.
do.
So if you'll just stay put, that's to talk about the resolution for acceptance of the FY 2023 CHIP Grant Award and Agreement, and that's Community Housing Improvement Program. Did I get that correct?
That's
Okay.
right. Can you go back, Stephen? All right, we're going to start from the top. So we are very, very excited to receive these funds. The train always comes at the perfect time for me. We received $400,000, and the city's putting $40,000 match with it. So we project that we'll be able to help about 8 residents, and that's a projection, honestly, because it could be that you have, 8 residents and all of their cost of repairs come in under budget, and we may be able to pick up number 9. So at this point, it's just merely a projection, but we're very excited to be able to help those residents. So we put together this for you guys, just in case you get any questions from folks in the community that are saying, hey, my house needs some much needed repairs and I want to see if I'm eligible. So this is kind of just a list of the process, oversimplified for sure. So there's a couple of minute steps that are missing, but I thought we'd just go over it in the really big picture and just, what happens if somebody calls. So we have a grant administrator for this project. Her name is Sherry Kurtz, and she works with Grant Specialist of Georgia. Very well versed in CHIP. Great grant administrator. She's wonderful to work with, and anybody that has a question about, am I eligible? Can I receive these funds? How do I do this? They will call that number right there, 229-928-5954. And I feel like we probably need to make that available on our website to tell folks, because they can start calling now. And what happens when they call? They'll get put on a list. And Sherry will start vetting them from the first person that calls to the last person that calls. So she'll vet them to make sure that they meet the eligibility criteria. What is that criteria? So the property must be within the target area. We'll go through that in just a second. The applicants must own the home. So this is not a program for renters. Unfortunately, it's just for homeowners. And they must have a copy of the deed. The taxes must be paid, and the household income must fall within the income threshold set by HUD. We'll go over that in just a second too. And the application must be completed and signed. However, she doesn't give out the applications until she makes sure that they meet the income threshold, that they own the home, that they've met this eligibility criteria before they go through all the paperwork for it. So she hands that out after she's initially vetted them. Then it's in that first come, first serve method. All right, well then after that, so the homeowner has passed all of those tests. They're in the first come, first serve. What happens next? So next, an inspection is going to happen, and that's where a work write-up will be prepared, so we know how much funds that we're working with. So we, unfortunately, if the house needs $290,000 worth of repairs, we can't help with this pot of money. There might be other pot of monies that we can go after, like CDBG neighborhood revitalization funds, a much better alternative in terms of houses like that because you can do rebuilds with that. But we are not doing rebuilds with this. This is simply rehab. So that being said, that's why the work write-up is done, is so we can establish that we can actually afford to do these projects. After that, the homeowner's going to select a contractor from an approved list of contractors. 3 contractors, pick one. Sherry will help them in deciding, you know, maybe one can jump on the project faster, maybe one's a little cheaper, but she'll guide them through each step of this process because it can be very overwhelming. And then next, the contracts are signed, DCA issues a notice to proceed, and the rehab work begins. So it's that simple when you have a Sherry. When Sherry is the one that's holding the hands of all of the homeowners and walking them through this process. And she does it flawlessly. Can you move to the next one? So about the project area, where can we help folks? So our target area for this grant is south of 82 all the way down to 17th Street. And it goes from Central to Hartley Ave. So I listed all of the streets that are in this one. It's Timmons, Peeler, Brookhaven, South College, South Ridge, South Park, Hargard Ave, Crawley's Alley, Williams Lane, Mathis Lane, 9th Street, 11th Street, 13th Street, 13th and a half, 15th, Cypress Ave, Hartley Ave, Walnut Drive, Birch Ave, Hickory Drive, and Old Omega Road. If there's ever a question of if a homeowner is in the target area, you can send them to me because I have a physical address here, and some people like to physically see somebody and talk to them, or they can call Sherry. Either one will let them know if the house is in the project area or if it's not in the project area. Okay. Go to the next one. No. All right, so what are the income limits? So on this table, this is produced by HUD annually, and it's done for several of the programs, not just for the CHIP program. This is also used for CDBG, home funds. How you read this table is you see the numbers from 1 to 8. That's the members in the household. So if you have a household of just one and you make $17,000 a year, you would fall in the 50% very low income limits and you would be eligible. If you fell in the extremely low column, you would be eligible. But if you were a one-person household and you made $42,000, you would not be eligible for these funds. So it's really how you read the table. So that's how we're going to be able to help these folks, and they'll give us proof of their income, and we'll see if they're eligible. And this really is a very strict requirement. It's either you're eligible based on this income or you're not eligible based on this income, given that it's, you know, HUD funding. But that's a quick rundown of the program as a whole. So why it's on the agenda now. So DCA has sent us the grant agreements and all of the resolutions that have to be passed by council in order for us to start, you know, thinking about accessing these funds. So they sent us about 15 documents that we are vetting right now, and we will have them emailed to y'all in a couple of days to review over the next week and a half. And we'd like to have a vote at the next city council meeting, but would understand if it needed to get pushed to a further date or a later date.
Well, this is really exciting. This is something, again, we've been working on, neighborhood enhancement.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really going to be, are we going to do any kind of press release on this? This almost needs a special, separate announcement.
Yeah. And we're going to put something on our website too that has easy access where we can direct people where to go. We've had a few that's already called.
Oh, good.
So they know that this is coming. It's just helping them understand the steps and what qualifies them.
Sure.
My question is, how are we going to get the information out for people who are not internet savvy?
We could do a flyer. We could put flyers out at frequently visited buildings like the senior center, the youth center, the Department of Labor.
Possibility for mailing, I guess, for the people that are on
I
those,
guess,
on
well,
those roads,
there's-
that way to get.
And the
out.
region, the area is not very big. We could look into doing maybe direct mailers to those that are
on
homeowners
the-
in the area.
Yeah, I prefer that.
Or a door
That needs
hanger
to
or
be a part
something,
of it.
yeah.
We can do that.
So we can get the information directly, so that way it'll be fair across the board, so no one can say, oh, I didn't know.
Absolutely, we
Yeah,
could,
That's important, especially for me.
we can do that.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. Website for those that are
Yeah.
website savvy, and do a mailer, and maybe like a social media post or something like that to just make sure we're hitting all of our necessary
As many
resources.
as possible to get the word out, because this is really good. And do you want to mention that ties in with this nicely, the call that we were on today with DCA about potential future funding? We're looking at continuing to look at workforce housing.
Yes.
So important.
Yeah, it was a call that we had, it was a DCA-sponsored call through One Georgia Authority. And it is, one thing that sparked our interest was, in South Tipton, the redevelopment project that we have, we still have the 6.1 acres that are down there. And there's grants out there that the city can apply for to help with single-family housing, homeowner versus rental. So that's something that we want to look at applying for, in the fall months to help rebuild that area back. Maybe it's with single-family housing.
So we're really paying attention to housing and making sure that people have safe, affordable, quality housing, whether it's rental or to purchase. Want to make sure we cover all areas.
Great.
Any questions, comments? Okay. All right, Emily, I'll turn it back over to you and Larry for the resolution authorizing you to execute the GMA lease agreement for the purchase of the E1 fire truck.
Yep, I will turn it over and let Larry handle it for our options.
Okay.
Of what we could do.
All right, well, we lucked upon a brand-new fire truck for $480,000 that we were projecting that we was gonna spend $600,000, $700,000 for, so.
Yeah.
So we went out and we got it, but now we gotta figure out how we're gonna pay for it. We have the funds to pay for it with our fund balance, or we can lease it. Right now, we're earning 4.98% on our funds in the bank, which is great. And this loan is at 4.47%. So as long as the interest rate that we're earning at the bank is more than this, it's better to lease it.
Makes
So,
sense,
and we can pay this off whenever interest rates start dropping off. There's no early penalty, or no penalty for early payment on the thing. So, so we can go ahead and proceed with this for the 10-year. And when the interest rates start dropping, we can pay it off or keep it, whatever you want to do. But I would suggest we pay it off when we start earning less on our funds in the bank. So
Right.
that's what we're looking at. So
Okay. Questions, comments? Good.
Yeah, I'm personally for, buying it up outright.
Yeah.
Right now, no matter.
Yeah, if we have the funds to purchase it outright, I'm more in favor of that.
We put it in the budget that, we would pay for it out of our funds. GMA requires that we come to council if we want to do a lease. We have to have a vote to be able to do it, which is why it's before you today. We have the funds to do it, or we could put it on a lease, either way.
Well, we're earning more money with the money at the bank than what we would pay out if we finance it. So, you know, use somebody else's money, right? Now we're earning money. It's to our advantage financially to lease it or
Yeah.
finance it through them and let the money.
yeah, we'd benefit a few $1,000s doing it this way. And like I say, whenever the interest rates start falling below the 4.47, we can pay it off then.
Once you get to
You
the
know,
point of it's costing
yeah.
you some money.
Yeah,
And now
right.
that could be next month, or it could be 2 years from now. You just don't know.
Yeah,
So-
I don't foresee the interest rates coming down in the next 6 months.
I don't see that happening.
You know, because they're still trying to get inflation under control. And
But we're locked in at the lease rate, so.
yeah, the 4.47 is locked in, but the interest rate at the bank is,
It's gonna move,
Yeah.
but the lease rate's not.
but it is, like I say, it is a benefit for us to do it now
Through the lease, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
and
All
pay
right.
it off when it's not a benefit for us.
And that'll be sometime within 10 years.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions, comments, gentlemen? Okay. All right, Jessica, you want to talk about the 2023 general election?
All right, this resolution is just for the call and notice of the 2023 election. It's our general election this year. The positions up for election are the mayor position and council district 2 and 4. The resolution, again, restates the qualification period, which is the 3rd week in August, and it starts on August 21st through August 25th. Again, states the qualifying fee, and the election will be held in November. Let's see. I don't remember the date. November 7th. So this is just a requirement for that general election to include our postings. We handle the qualifying here in office, and the Tift County Board of Elections handles our actual election day stuff. So.
All right, any questions? Pretty straightforward housekeeping that we always do right before a municipal election. Okay, moving on to the next item, city manager report. You had a lot to report on earlier, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I can redo it if you need me to.
No, we're good, we're good. All right, are there any mayor and council comments this evening? Anybody like to make any statements, comments?
Yeah, for myself, it's, I think it's an honor to have Dr. Dave's name on it. That is really a big thing. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved with that, and congratulations. Also, for the municipal court clerk, and I'm a big fan of hers. So
Yep.
I think that was also great as well. So that's all for me.
Okay, good to hear. Josh, you have anything you want to?
I'm good and happy with the budget. I'm happy that we're able to help a lot of people, and
Yep.
life is great in Tifton.
There you go. Jack?
I'm good.
MJ?
I'm good.
All right, I'm good too.
The mural.
Oh,
Oh, yes, we do. I do have something to come up Thursday at 11:30. We are going to do a ribbon cutting for the Anthony G. Bateman mural that's been recently finished with the partners of the City of Tifton, Tifton Arts Council, and so if you would please join us. That's going to be a big thing. Something that's very nice if you hadn't seen it already, but we just want to bring the recognition of the things that Tifton and the community is doing, you know, for that area and just for the City of Tifton as a whole. So we're doing all the things that Emily's put out there in front of us.
Exactly.
Sorry.
All right, any other business to come before the council? Then we are adjourned. Thank y'all.